Welcome to the 45th reading of my memoir, The Innocence of Guilt. Little breakthroughs and a harsh reality. Strange little breakthroughs came in my dreary days. One day I moped upstairs in my parents' bedroom on a Sunday morning. In the distance, the sound of a marching band, the sash window pushed up from the bottom. I poked my head out, and down the hill came the Salvation Army soldiers of God, all cymbals, drums, and brass, a cacophony of noise. As they passed my house, I became transported to a higher level of consciousness, the dark fog in my mind blotted out by something bright. The euphoria lasted for a few hours, then the old familiar despair returned, the brightness gone, but recognized as something precious I had briefly owned and desperately wanted back. Another day I wandered around the shops on a Saturday afternoon. A wedding party left Holy Trinity Church in the center of town. As I stopped to watch, the bride and groom faded, and I saw a vision of my very own wedding sometime in the future. Amazingly reassured that one day some young man would love me and we would be married, I walked home in a daze. Sometimes I gazed out the window and a wave of elation swept over me. If I walk outside and turn the corner, I might bump into him. He's out there, living his life without me. It struck me as strange that Patrick wasn't the one I thought of at those times, but some mysterious person yet to enter my life. During my childhood, if Dad left the house and I asked Mum where he'd gone, she'd say, "He's gone to see a man about a dog," which meant I wasn't to bother asking any further questions because I wouldn't get any answers. He never came home with a dog, so I learned it meant something private, something I had no business knowing. Then last year, around the time of my job hunting, Mum told me he'd gone to look for a dog, and I didn't think anything more about it until he came in the door with a cute black puppy, which he named Rex. He bought it to keep him company at the factory, where he spent every night as night watchman, in addition to his other jobs as caretaker and cleaner. He told us he felt a little nervous being in the factory all night on his own, and a dog would act as an alarm system should someone attempt to break in. A few weeks later, he came home with a second puppy and let David and me name it Tramp, after the cartoon dog of the same name in the Walt Disney film Lady and the Tramp. Most of the time, these dogs, not puppies any longer, stayed with him at the factory, but occasionally they inhabited the same crowded space as the rest of us, and along with Mum's dog, Chips, created tension. On Sunday afternoons, Mum and Dad liked to take the dogs out for a long walk, and sometimes David and I went with them. Dad lost his temper with his dogs often. Mum didn't let him lay a hand on Chips, and he carried a stick with which to hit them if they didn't obey. Getting the 3 dogs out of the house was a hassle, as they were all keyed up, ready to go, yelping and barking. I sensed all our neighbours peering out of their windows as my father beat his dogs all the way around the corner of the street. It wasn't until we were out of sight of the immediate houses that I relaxed enough to enjoy the walk. One day, the 3 dogs were in the house, causing a fair amount of noise and confusion. An argument broke out, and in a fury, Dad grabbed his dogs' leads, clipped them onto the dogs' collars, and hurried them out the back door. Mum, Din Din, David and I sat around the table wondering what mood he would be in when he returned. Something caused us to band together as a group, unusual for us, sensing trouble. None of us were prepared for what he did, and not one of us ever discussed it afterwards between ourselves. I heard the click of the back gate, the scullery door open, and into the living room he stormed. He glared at us and tossed the collars and leads onto the table. "Now you all know who's the boss around here," he announced triumphantly, and not one of us said a word back. Rex and Tramp were barely 18 months old, and after that, all of us became painfully aware that if he could get rid of two innocent creatures, he could, if pushed hard enough, do the same to any of us. It put us in a state of shock for a while. I didn't shed a tear, and if that isn't shock in all its glory, I'd like to know what is. Thank you for listening. Please feel free to subscribe, like, or comment on this reading, and hopefully you will tune in to the next one. Bye for now.